Evening, everyone. What I do is very, very far from chalk and talk. So before we start, I just want you to brush off the chalk dust that's on your shoulders, because it's what you experienced when you went to school. And everybody just give me a brush off. Now brush off the chalk. Brush off all the chalk dust, right? So at Halls of Learning, we offer these hands-on learning activities that pretty much are based in science, technology, engineering, math, art, and so on. Otherwise known as robotics. Otherwise known as Lego Your Mind, for those of you who are familiar with our program. And so the thing I wanted to discuss today was how summer camp, a robotics summer camp, is going to be teaching our kids financial intelligence. I know that probably sounds like a bit of a mismatch, but this is what we tried to do. And I'm going to let my younger self tell you a bit about what happens in our workshop. We're going to be coming to the market to purchase the brain, right? And then you need to program the robot after you've completed the building of the robot. Okay? Anybody have any questions? That is the money. That's a great question, because if you're going to the market and you're going to buy the pieces, then you need money. What's the question at the back? If I'm going to tell you the pieces that you need, no, the computer is going to tell you the pieces that you need. In fact, it will show you a picture of the pieces that you need. And then when you go to the market, you will see another picture, the same picture of the pieces that you need.
You have a challenge in front of you. It have step by step. So when you do one, you say, yeah, this is interesting. You do two, you say, wow. You do three, you say, yo. You do the next one, you say, chum on. And you do it again, and you, yeah.
Fun activity that we can get to, like go purchase and in a competition to see who can build it faster.
I say, sure, robot, and then actually sit down and build one and see it move. Feel great.
So, there's some scenes from an initiative that we've done in 2012 called Lego Your Mind Day, and we went to 12 schools and offered this one-day workshop in robotics, and most of these schools were serving children that lived in the inner city. Tevin, who was the last guy to speak a while ago, you know, he was almost at the point of tears talking about the fact that, you know, he came in thinking, robot, what's that? You know, and the fact that he was able to go through that, build his robot, and make it move, like, changed his life. You know, it changed his life. So everybody keeps asking me, you know, what do you do? What do you do? What's a robot? You know, what happens? So, you know, I'm hoping that what you saw a while ago gives you a better visual of what we do in our after-school programs, in our summer programs, in our inner city outreach. And our activities are based on three basic ideas. The first one is build from design. Now, if you look at that picture on the computer, on the screen, you will see a boy and just beside him, the computer, but also a model. So in build from design, the children are following step-by-step instructions to build a model out of Lego. And then they're programming it on the computer, right? The next way we do things, we call that build from real. Now, build from real is a little more challenging because what we do is we put a built model in front of the child and we say, build it, no instructions. So what you have to do at that point is reverse engineer. You have to identify different parts of the model that you want to approach and then figure out what steps you're going to use in order to accomplish that. The next way that we organize our activities, build from imagination. You like that, Noe? That's build from imagination means that we give them a task and we say, you need to build, in this case, a robotic garbage pan. No replica to follow, no instructions, imagination. And many children who play with Lego are very good at following instructions. And when we take those instructions away, you see them having to struggle. But that's good because they're learning another way to use the same tool that they've come to love so much. And so, you know, how do we use all of this to teach financial intelligence? Well, with all this talk about the do-it-yourself revolution and Maker Faire and the Maker movement happening globally, we wanted to prepare our children to think like that. We wanted them to have this kind of early exposure to what it meant to look at something and build a solution, or look at something that existed and replicate it, or invent something completely new to solve a problem. So we sort of tried to create an economy around the building of Lego creations. Lego creations that children already know and love. And we put an economy. And basically we would have these three things. A market, right? At that market, they have to go and they have to do their transactions. So they have to think about the costs of their different elements, the cost of their different pieces, even sometimes a budget, right? They have a currency, which we will get to. They have to use some kind of money to do their transaction. And one of the reasons why this was important was because we noticed that children never really got the chance to do their own transactions until later on in life. And so you find parents saying, well, you know, I wish my son or my daughter worked in a shop or got that experience to, you know, be on the shop floor or be at the cash register and build up their mental math and understand these things about, you know, finances and money and buying and selling. You know, many of us, you know, children, they get their lunch, they take it to school. Some of them might go to the canteen, they might get some lunch money, canteen. And then many schools nowadays are going so cashless out of safety that the chance of the child doing their own transaction is lost. And so we wanted to make an impact on that. We wanted to put money in their hands while they were playing, while they were doing something that was exciting to them. And of course, the buyers and sellers are an obvious feature that we would need. So, the market. The children go to the market. The children go to the Lego market. Some of them call it the Lego Mall. Right? Because thousands of pieces in hundreds of Chinese takeout containers are laid out in a section organized by category for them to go in and do their transactions. They've gotten their money, right? They've gotten their money. They go into the market and they now have to figure out how much does what I want, how much will what I want cost me, right? How much am I going to spend? When I get to the cashier, again, still no chalk, all mental. They have to be telling the cashier or the marketeer, as we would call them, they have to tell them how much they're going to be paying with. Right? So how much money they're presenting, and then how much change that they're getting back. Now, a lot of kids, played with Lego, and then here we come and we're now putting this obstacle in front of them to just grabbing the pieces and running and building. But you'll see that initially there's a struggle because it's a new experience, and as we all encounter new experiences, there's that struggle. But once they get into it, it becomes such an empowering thing for them. Very empowering. At the center of that empowerment is the currency that we have invented. And this is something very special to us. The currency of learning. And it's called MeBuy. Very Jamaican, right? Of course, right? But technically, monetary exchange binary information. Monetary exchange binary information. We don't tell the kids that at all. We just tell them, here's your MeBuy, right? But you guys can appreciate that, so we're explaining that a little more. Now, the thing about the MeBuy is, if you'll notice, it does not have any digits. No digits at all. So we must be crazy. How are we giving children currency that has no digits and we expect them to do a transaction? And we expect them to do all this mental math? Well, there's a way to figure it out. And guess what? We tried to make it easy enough for a 6-year-old to figure out. And for those of you who were lucky enough to have one of these on your table, can you hold it up for me, please? Some of you are lucky enough to get some MeBuy. Right? Listen, where the rest of them? Anyway, so I have a little task for you. I have a little task. I want you to tell me how much is that MeBuy bill worth. It's a risk. It's a risk, but it's okay to make a mistake, right? Happens all the while. Just look at, if you don't have the physical one, look on the screen. None of my family members or friends are to answer this question. Huh? 20? 63? Any other answers? How much? How much? 74? 100? 1 million. We have a millionaire. The correct answer is 20. 20. Now, as I said, simple enough for a 6-year-old to understand, right? That was the aim, which means that they should be able to count and figure it out. So let me take you back a bit. Binary is a concept in computer science. It's something that you learn when you're going through your math curriculum in high school. But the main point about binary is that it represents two states, on and off. So binary is, at a very fundamental level, is just about on and off, and it's what computers and computer science is built on. So binary is used to represent every piece of software, every piece of music, every piece of picture. Anything that you see on the computer is represented in binary. So if we apply that same concept to on and off, and we understand that binary is base 2, and you see those 6 sections, right? Those are like bits, right? For those of you who can appreciate that part. In any of those sections, think of them as lights, right? think of them as lights. So in any of those sections, the lights in that section are either turned completely on or completely off. When they're all on, they're shaded in black. Right? So this binary based currency allowed us to represent up to like 63 MIBA in value. We didn't go higher than 6. As I said, 6-year-olds. And we had also some 17-year-olds. So we had different types of currency, right? And again, every time you look at it, you have to think about what it means. You have to do that calculation. And we initially color-coded it, right? And after a while, the kids were just, they got it. But what they got was, oh, this color is that value. And we're like, uh-oh, that's not what we want. So we just made it black and white so that they had to really think about it every time until they were able to sort of look at the summary part of it. And if you look up in the top left of it or the bottom left, you'll see a summary answer, which again, each of those boxes, the first box is the 1 box, the second one is the 2, the 4, the 8, the 16, and the 32. And if any of those are on, then it means that they add to the value of the currency. So this was at the center of how we used our activity to develop their financial intelligence. The children got exposed to buying and selling, right? Something that, you know, most parents are doing the transactions for the kids in regular life, right? If they go to the movies or they go shopping or whatever it is, it's being done for them. Profit and loss. We never once mentioned that concept. But the first year we introduced it, we saw kids saying and tallying up how much MIBA they had made for the day. And some people were saying, wait, I made a profit, and some people were saying they made a loss. No, at no point did we ever introduce this terminology to them. And it just shows that when you put certain tools in the hands of the children, it will go in unpredictable ways that are just totally creative, totally wonderful. And, you know, this is what excites us about them having this transaction every time they have to build something. The entrepreneurial thinking, well, there was one child who threw his money up in the air to make it rain. Right? Some of them, there was another pair, because they work in pairs. Some of them bought out all these pieces and tried to corner the market on a certain piece. So they bought out all these pieces so that people had to come and buy those pieces from them. Right? But you know, it's the beginning of them participating in a sort of market economy from an early age. But you might say it's just Lego or it's just robotics, but we've added this into the mix. Now, I'm going to tell you one story. And I titled this slide, The Financial Intelligence of AJ. AJ is seen at your right, holding a model that he had made. Now, again, you put these things in the hands of children, you have no idea where they're going to take it. If you give them some rules, but you give them a lot of freedom, right? AJ has had the most interesting entrepreneurial approach to our little maker, me by economy built on Lego that I've seen so far. And this is 3 years that we've been doing it only in our summer camps. AJ, at the end of one day, he had a stack of me by this high. So we're like, how did you get so much me by? What AJ did was first, he built these things, little models, and he started to entertain people. And he said, you need to pay me to watch my show. He built 2 models and he made them interact with each other. And he said, you have to pay me to watch my show. That was the first thing he did. The second thing he did was he finished everything that we had required for him to do. And then he started to build some other little things. And then he said, you want to buy this? You want to buy that? So, do we call him an overachiever? Not really. You know, he might have been bored if we had just stopped him on what was prescribed, but he went beyond that. And I mean, it's easily the most impressive example of the kind of impact it can have on nurturing the financial intelligence of our children. And, you know, House of Learning has had as a part of its DNA inner city outreach. So we have the summer camp, and then we pull it down, and then we take volunteer staff into inner city communities and offer with the same materials, the same level of programming that we would give at our regular paying summer camp. So, you know, our numbers are not in the millions as yet, but since 2008, we've impacted over 800 kids. And that's started off with just myself and one other volunteer. And we said, okay, you and I, we can do 16 kids. All right, we're going to go to Tivoli, Seaview, Riverton. And we gave scholarships to each of those communities, and we brought it there. And why did we bring it there? We brought it there because what I've found in my experience as a teacher, yes, I was a teacher. Still am, still in my heart, I feel like I'm a teacher, still. I am, yeah. Well, not in the classroom as much anymore. Right. I realized that children from at-risk communities had a strong identity to those communities. And when they came into their schools, they were actually still adhering to the standards of their communities, not so much the school. So the community was always very powerful influence. So yes, I could have bussed them out of their communities, but I wanted to bring it into their communities so that it could have a stronger impact for the community in general, so that they could now say, well, this is happening in my community. I am building robots in my community. I am spending this me buy and doing all these creative things in my community. So I will pretty much just close with a little video that from one of our communities that has become sort of dear to us. They've been, you know, consistent, you know, from 2009. They've had a very high level of participation. This is a lane of Mountain View called Goodrich Lane. Goodrich Lane got into the newspapers in 2009 for the beheading of someone from another lane. And we went down there in that same year through a former student of mine who was there and is, you know, trying to make a positive impact to bring this this outreach, this experience to them. And they had, I mean, like if we gave 32 scholarships, there were 30 kids showing up for the entire period. Because, you know, sometimes they show up for one day and then something is happening in the community. Like, for instance, in Tivoli one year, we did it started on a Friday, and then on a Saturday, a slip and slide came out. And so our numbers went from 22 to 2. Right? But Mountain View, I tell you, excellent participation. So the other element that I want to just bring up with our program is that we made them sing. Right? And we came up with this camp song one year. I'll be working on my Legos all the live long day. I'll be working on my Legos, but time flies fast away. Sung to the tune of I'll be working on the railroad. So here are the kids kind of just having some fun. Thank you.